So methane accounts for just over 60% of agricultural greenhouse gas emissions, and Ireland has committed to a 25% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture by 2030 relative to 2018 levels. So reducing our methane output is going to have a huge role to play in whether or not we can achieve these targets that have been set. So there's a huge programme of work underway in Teagasc Moor Park, the objectives of which are to improve the understanding of enteric methane emissions in grazing systems and to ultimately develop solutions to reduce methane output. So this is a green feed machine. This is what we use to measure methane in Moor Park. It's a trailer mounted machine that works by incentivising the cows to visit it by offering them a small quantity of concentrate each time. So while the cow is consuming the concentrate, the machine takes a sample of their breath and it analyses it for methane concentration. So after each visit, the cow is blocked for about 3 or 4 hours and they usually visit about 3 to 4 times per day. So in addition to feed additive research, we also have a couple of other areas of methane research, the first of which is to refine the methane conversion factors that are currently being used in our national inventory models. So for the dairy cows, we are hoping to make the methane conversion factors more applicable so that they're representative of the genetic makeup of our cows and the forage that they're consuming. And we're also hoping to develop methane conversion factors for our dry cows consuming grass silage and our replacement heifers throughout the rearing period. We also have some research on mitigating methane using pasture and genetics. So looking at different types of grass species such as plantain, white clover and multi-species, and different grassland management strategies, and also looking at genetics, so the effect of the EBI. And we have research showing that high EBI cows are more efficient and they produce less methane per kilo of milk solids output. So in terms of feed additives then, what do we want from a feed additive? And a feed additive must have consistent methane reduction potential. We must be able to deliver it to the animal easily. There can be no negative effects on animal performance or food safety, and we must be able to account for it in the national inventory. Of course, it would be great if the feed additive was low cost, if it increased performance, our animal performance, if it was of natural origin, and if it could be used in combination with other solutions such as grassland management and genetics. So in Teagasc, we have a large programme of work that's looking at the effect of feed additives on enteric methane output, on animal performance, residues in the milk, and I suppose delivery of the additive to the animal itself. And the focus of our research is to find an additive that's compatible with grazing systems. So in 2021, a group of researchers from New Zealand did a large meta-analysis of all the available feed additives and ranked them in order of their efficacy. So 2 of the additives came out on top consistently. So Trinop or trinitrooxypropanol and Asparagopsis. And I suppose these 2 additives form the basis for most of the research that we've done in Moor Park to date. But I suppose one thing to note with all these studies, or most of these studies, these trials were all done in international systems, so in systems where the cows are housed year-round and offered a TMR. So in those systems, it's really easy to feed additives because the additive can be mixed throughout the total mixed ration and it's present in every mouthful of feed consumed by the animal. So Trinop is the first additive that we looked at. It's been approved for use as a feed additive in the EU since 2022, and there are over 50 papers that report consistent reductions in methane of about 30%. But most of these studies have been done in indoor feeding systems. So it works by so how methane is produced in the rumen when the animal consumes feed, and this is broken down by microbes into VFAs. These VFAs then work with the methanogenic archaea to bind carbon dioxide to the hydrogen. But Trinop works by knocking out the methanogenic bacteria to disrupt the production of methane. So we did a 10-week trial in the summer of 2022 in which we fed 13.6 grams per day of Trinop, 6.8 grams in the morning and 6.8 grams in the evening. So we mixed this with 500 grams of a coarse ration and fed it manually to the cows on exit from the milking parlour. So when we looked at the first 3 hours after the cows had consumed the additive, there was a 30% reduction in methane. And this is very comparable to what they're finding in the international systems. However, when you looked at the whole day, after the 3 hours after the cows had consumed the additive, their methane reverted back to normal. So the reduction across the day was about 6%. So I suppose what this highlighted for us was that in its present form, the tree nop is not really suited to grazing systems, or I suppose specifically pulse feeding twice daily in grazing systems. And in terms of the practicalities of feeding additives. So in the meantime, while we're trying to find a solution for feeding tree nop during the grazing season, we've been working on feeding tree nop to dry cows. So we mix tree nop in through a perennial ryegrass silage diet using a diet feeder or mixer wagon. And we fed it to the cows, and this resulted in a 22% reduction in methane without any effect on animal performance. So this trial formed the basis for a pilot study that we did last winter, in which we fed tree nop on some Signpost farms. So we worked together with the Signpost programme and some of the co-ops listed below to fund the cost of the additive and feed it to about 3,500 cows across 18 farms last winter. And I suppose the objective was to see how the farmers got on in terms of practicalities of feeding additives, to get feedback from them, and ultimately to show that we as an industry are harnessing the technologies available to us to reduce our methane emissions. I suppose we recognise that not everyone or very few farmers have access to mixing wagons. So we did a follow-up study last year in which we mixed the tree nop with dry cow minerals and dusted it onto the silage twice daily. And that resulted in an 11% reduction in methane, which I suppose the efficacy of feeding the additive this way was reduced by about half compared to the previous study. And at this time of the year, farmers would often have their cows in by night and out grazing by day due to, I suppose, suboptimal grazing conditions. So we wanted to simulate this in the last study that we did with tree nop. So we had a group of cows out grazing by day, and by night they came in and they were offered silage that had been mixed, the tree nop mixed through it using a mixer wagon. And this resulted in a 13% reduction in methane. So I suppose when you look at all these studies with tree nop together, we could feed the tree nop during the 8-week dry period by either mixing it together with a mixing wagon or by dusting it on top of the silage. And then for maybe 4 to 6 weeks in late lactation, when grazing conditions are poor, and maybe similarly for 4 to 6 weeks in early lactation, we could feed the additives in the way outlined in this slide. So I suppose it just shows that we are, I suppose, extending the time frame in which we can feed these additives on pasture-based farms. So this summer we started to look at Asparagopsis, which is a red seaweed. It grows best in warm water. And we had 2 different dietary inclusion rates in this trial. So we had a group of cows that were fed 20 grams per day, so 10 grams in the morning and 10 grams in the evening, and a group of cows that were fed 40 grams per day. So we dusted the seaweed powder on top of the concentrate and fed to the cows manually on exit from the parlour using the buckets. And what we found was on average a 24% reduction in methane feeding the additive in this way. And there was very little difference between the high and the low inclusion rate cows. This is because the group of cows fed the 40 grams per day had significantly more feed refusals. There were lots of palatability issues with the seaweed. So in reality, they actually didn't consume any more seaweed than the low group, despite being offered twice as much. We're still waiting some of the analysis from this trial. So with this trial and with every trial that we do, we take comprehensive milk samples. So we take individual milk samples every week for our milk solids content and somatic cell score. We also look at the residues of the additives in this milk. And then on a couple of occasions throughout the trial, we take bulk tank samples. So we milk each treatment group of cows into a smaller bulk tank, and we use that milk then to produce butter and milk powder to evaluate if there's any effect of the additive on the processability and the heat stability of the milk. We would also look at a number of different health and performance indicators such as dry matter intake, body weight, body condition score, grazing behaviour, rumen samples and blood samples. And I suppose based on the outcome of the first trial, in which we fed the Asparagopsis to the cows, there were palatability issues with both groups. So a natural follow on from that, and to see, I suppose, if we could incorporate the seaweed into a pellet to improve palatability and, I suppose, improve the practicalities of feeding these additives on farm. We're currently doing a follow on study. So I suppose Asparagopsis is sensitive to light and heat. So we coated it with an oil prior to making the pellets, just to protect it from the heat in the mill. And we produced these pellets and we've been feeding them to the cows for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So early indications are that it is reducing methane, maybe not to the extent of the first trial. So that I suppose outlines that there was some damage to Asparagopsis during the feeding. But we haven't got any full results yet. So I suppose, as you can see, there's been an awful lot of work done in the last 3 years. And we've got lots of exciting trials planned for 2025. We're hoping to continue evaluating promising feed additives with a focus on improving the practicalities and the delivery of feeding these additives. For the likes of tree nop, they may require a slow release mechanism to be effective in grazing systems. We're going to focus on ensuring that there's no residues of the additives in the milk. We also want to do life cycle assessment and to look at, I suppose, the cost and the business model of feeding these additives. Thank you.